13, and we're working in Kit K Theme B, so it's important to recognize that this is one of the earlier kits, so a little bit less arduous, I would say. Some of our higher level kids might find this simplistic, and so there's other ways you can go and other things you can do. But for our younger students and students that are new to word building, this will be an important theme. We're looking at the suffixes ly and ful. This is at a funny angle for me today. Let me try this. The suffixes ly and ful are useful for establishing the basic patterns of real word structure because they're common suffixes and a useful pattern for suffixing in word structure. This is one of the first ones that Melvin introduces because it's not a vowel suffix, and so there's a lot that you can do here just looking at word building. You don't have to worry about whether or not it does something to the end of a word. They complete letter strings that establish at this early stage the important fact that spelling is not much interested in isolated letters. And as I said before, this is something I'm trying to get my own head around. They can also be written as single integrated movement patterns, and so serve as models for handwriting, which is something we're starting to talk about and we'll do a little bit more today. This theme teaches basic word structure and its terminology, which again for some of our students and our teachers we've gone already into, so this could either be an assessment and a review type moment, or for some of our younger kids this can really solidify it and give us more practice. It also teaches that ly and ful are common English suffixes, that they should be written as single continuous movements or patterns. Before you get into the main thing, the things that we have tried to establish through our earlier work, and certainly we should still make sure that kids know, is we want to focus on that kids know the name of the letters. Not the sounds, but the names. And that they need to understand that letters, isolated letters, are not as important to spelling as letter strings or graphemes. And Melvin has a great analogy that I sort of built on. And his analogy is that letters and letter strings are sort of like atoms and molecules. So atoms are helpful, are known, are named, but until they're combined, they can't make something like a molecule. And for me, I was baking this weekend and I thought about vanilla, which, you know, smells so good and you want to taste it and everything, and it's horrible on its own. So it's sort of, vanilla are letters for me, but it's not until you put the vanilla in something else with other things that it actually does something and is important. So if your kids are struggling with that idea, especially at the lower grades, that letters themselves, they don't have meaning, we've got to put them together for that to work. So when we're teaching, we need to make sure about the letter names. We also can talk to kids about these letters come in predictable groups. And by knowing those groups, we take some control over spelling and word building. And also that there are a limited number of combinations of those groups. It's not like there's a gazillion possible ways to combine the letters. ly and ful are very common and predictable, and we're going to use them over and over and over again. So these are things we want to fix in our memories. And this was a little saying that I thought was funny that only Melvin could say, but letters can't go anywhere. We don't just put them willy-nilly. And I love that because I can see myself as a kid or some kids, you know, that just get letters randomly. I'm just adding letters because I feel like there should be more. This helps with that. Okay? So, this theme, can you just peek and make sure you can see it in there? Because I've moved this off my tape. Okay, great. This theme is about word building, and it's looking at spelling not as memorization, but as building words. And again, this may be something you've already gone to town with on your kids and you don't need to go back to in an instructional way, but instead maybe you can do some assessment on where they are, some formative assessment and saying, are they getting this? Are they starting to see this? The theme breaks it down into that we have these parts that we use to spell with, prefixes, base elements, and suffixes, and he calls them base elements here because we're trying to make sure we don't call them base words because some of them aren't words on their own, and that would be the free base, a word that can stand alone as free, or a bound base that needs other things attached in order to make sense as meaning. You can have more than one base, you can have more than one prefix and suffix, so the building blocks of these things, if you can imagine, they're sort of like Legos or those math ones that go this way are so fabulous because that's the same thing. You can tack them on and on and on and change meaning, which is essentially what the matrix is. So in the theme, he gets into the nitty-gritty of what a word sum would look like and what the pieces of a word sum are for. And the joins and what they do, how to announce the word sum is something I would do at this point. I think he does it a little bit, but I would certainly practice saying the prefix and the suffix letters together quickly to fix those in our mind. There were some words mentioned in the theme that, again, could be used as an assessment tool. You could give them to the kids and ask them to put them into a word sum and assess how they're going with that, or vice versa, give them a couple of them that are a word sum and have them put them into a word. And I forget what Pete called that, but it was, when he gave this, it was analytical word, an analytic word sum, or a synthetic word sum. Yeah, so you could do a little playing around with that, and even go back to some of the worksheets that Pete gave us. You don't have to use these words, but this is the sort of crux of this theme. The other thing, I know, Karen, you brought this up too, and I've been doing a lot of thinking about this because of, I'm going to bring you down here to the red first. When I think about myself as a speller, and it's such a reflective moment for me doing this work, because I really have to analyze my own thinking around spelling and my own fears. And this is me. Single letter thinking is one of the biggest hindrances to achieving spelling maturity. I still very much try to spell letter by letter and try to figure it out that way. I don't yet think in groups, even suffix and prefix groups. It doesn't occur to me yet. So one of the recommendations that Melvin has for writing these suffixes and prefixes in groups so that you get memory through motor is that it'll help kids do this. They will no longer see this as an F-U-L. They'll see it as F-U-L, which is what we want, and I don't yet have. Doing it in handwriting, we have some handwriting guidelines that I want to talk about that is in an evolution. But the other thing that Pete talked about that was like, is keyboarding. And if I'm going to type L-Y, L-Y, L-Y 15,000 times in my lifetime, I might as well practice those as groups instead of practicing L, 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 and then adding a Y later. Go ahead and practice these out. So if you wanted to do some of that work with your kids, and not older kids, and not have them do handwriting per se, you could just move them to the keyboard and practice making some of these strings, or any of the suffixes and prefixes that we've already started to develop, trying to get them fixed in their mind. Quickly, to go to the ACS handwriting agreements, I will put these on the server. We do have a set, and like Melvin suggests, we need to work toward using verbal cues in handwriting formation. So where a letter starts and how it goes from there is what we want to do, rather than, from my perspective, not Melvin's necessarily, rather than how it looks. Melvin's rule script is beautiful and it follows letter formation, but we're not at a point in our development that we're going to take on adopting real script, but we do want to think about how we want kids to form letters. We're beginning the process in the lower grades, and in grade 3, we're using the verbal path that Fondas and Pinnell has provided, but Laura brought up, she's having a hard time getting this around her own mouth. It's not coming easy to her. She has found another example that gets us the same start and the same end with slightly different cues, and I think that's what we're looking for. We just need a way to say it that does what we want. So that's still something that we're evolving with, and hopefully by the end of the year we'll be really secure on it. And I'll keep you up to date, but for now, these will be on the server, and we have one for cursive as well. Just to keep going, so this theme, like I said, fairly basic, and an excellent time to either catch up on some themes you want to work on, or to extend into just playing and building and assessing their work, not really teaching new things, but giving them a chance with the spelling out and building word sums. Mainly using the suffixes ly and ful to practice spelling out with pauses and what I'm calling the quick say of the prefixes and suffixes, as well as double letters. If you can give kids some of those doubles and force them to decide, is it a double or is it the addition of a suffix that can't cross those morphemic boundaries, and so we're going to say them separately. Lots of practice on this would be great. As well as writing out the word sums while you're doing it. And you can have them just build a lot of words. There's so much we can do here. Don't restrict yourself, though, to just FUL and LY. If you're ready to go somewhere, go there. And adding these to your prefix, space, and suffix charts. Sorry, I keep rubbing my nose. It's allergy season. Woo! Some things which might come up are, that he wrote down, are addressed in Kit 2 Theme I. The first one is FULL versus FUL, and one is a base and the other is a suffix. And this is going to come up sometimes, and why does one have an L and one doesn't? And the clear answer is one is a base and one is a suffix. Down here he indicates, though, a new law that I haven't added to my list, but if we take FULL F-U-L-L plus L-Y. We should, by following this out, have F-U-L-L-L-Y, but we have a law that says we don't write 3 letters in succession. And that would be the same thing with agreed. That may come up as a question from kids as you're studying this theme. If it does, you can go there. If it doesn't, you can leave them there. And if you're really interested, check out Kit 2. Okay?